friends, welcome to The Point. In today's session, we'll be discussing about the story of village Palampur. You may think, what is the use of learning a story about a village? So the main purpose of the story, it is to introduce some of the basic concepts in economics that relates to production. So in order to understand in a better way, we are reading it through a story. Mostly in villages, farming will be the main activity. Similarly, in the village called Palampur, farming is the main activity. And apart from farming, several other activities like small scale manufacturing industries, dairy industries, and transport and so on were carried out, that too in a limited scale. This type of production activities, it needs various types of resources. For example, for a dairy farming, the main resource is milk. And for the production of use and throw plates and glasses, you need certain raw material. And those resources are natural resources, man-made items, human effort, and money. So we need money to purchase a natural resource and for the labor charges and so on. Human effort. Why do you need a human effort? Suppose in a village we have a matchstick industry. So that matchstick industry, it needs some resources like wood and so on. So those wood and all those things, it should be put into the machines by the humans. That will be a human effort. And those matchsticks, after it becomes a proper match, it should be collected by the humans, packed and distributed. So this all comes under human effort. And the man-made items, I said about the machines used for making matchsticks. Those machines are man-made items. And this wood and the wood that is being used for a matchstick, it becomes a natural resource. So this Palampur, it is a village that is connected with the neighboring villages and towns. And among them, Raiganj, it's a big village and it is nearly 3 kilometers from Palampur. And there is a well-built road which is operational in all the weather conditions. And this road connects Palampur and Raiganj. And near to Palampur, there is one more town called Shahpur. And there are many kinds of transport. They are visible on this road like bullock carts, tongas, wooden cart drawn by buffaloes, which are known as bogies, and that is loaded with jaggery and other commodities to motor vehicles like motorcycles, jeep, tractors, trucks and so on. So these are the transportations that are visible on these roads. So nearly 450 families, they lived in the village called Palampur. And there are different caste peoples. Some are upper caste, some are lower caste. But the 80 upper caste families, they own majority of land in Palampur. That is, out of 450, 80 families who are upper caste, they own the majority of land. So they have a well-built house with good infrastructure like cement plastering and so on. And the SCs, that is the Dalits, they comprise 1/3 of the population and they live in one corner of the village. And this SCs, Dalits, they live in a very small houses and which is made up of mud and straw. So most of the houses, they have electric connections, electric powers, tube wells in their fields and so on. So this Palampur, it has 2 primary schools and 1 high school. And there is a primary health center and that is run by government and 1 private dispensary where the sick people are given treatments. So from this above explanation, what you can understand is Palampur is a village that is well developed with roads, transport, electricity, irrigation, schools, and it even has health centers. So in villages all over India, we can say farming is the main production activity taken place. And other than production, what are the activities takes place in the non-farm sites? In this non-farm activities, small scale manufacturing, transport, shopkeeping, this all comes under non-farming activities. So later we'll have a discussion about this farming and non-farming activities. Now let's understand the concept, organization of a production. So for production, what are the important things you need? So you need 4 requirements. The first requirement is land and other natural resources like water, forest and minerals. And the second requirement is labor. Here, labor means the people who will do the work. Some production activities it requires highly educated and talented person who perform necessary tasks. And the third requirement is physical capital. That is the variety of inputs that is required at the each and every stage of production. So what do you require at the time of physical capital? What are the items that comes under physical capital is like tools, machines, buildings, everything comes under physical capital. And also the raw materials and money in hand, it's a physical capital. So these tools, machines, buildings. So these tools, machines, it may be simple tools, complicated tools, simple tools like farmer's plow and sophisticated machines like generators, turbines, computers. And the money that is being invested for these tools, machines and building. Why you require this building? To run the production. You need some space. So these are all mandatory. That is why this is called as fixed capital. Raw materials and money in hand. Production it requires raw materials. And money is always required during production. Why? Because to make the payments to the laborers and to buy unnecessary items. Raw materials and money comes in the hand of working capital. And there is a fourth requirement, and that requirement is called factors of production. Every production it is organized by combining land, labor, physical capital and human capital. So all this combinedly it is known as factors of production. Farming in Palampur. So here the land is fixed. Farming is a main production activity in Palampur. 75% of the people who are working, they are dependent for farming for their livelihood. So these people, they can be farmers or even farm laborers. And since from 1960 in Palampur, there has been no expansion in land area under cultivation. And by then on, some of the wastelands in the village, it has been converted to cultivable land. The standard unit of measuring a land is, so in villages, in the local units, they measure the land such as bigha, gunta and so on. Remember, 1 hectare of land is equal to the area of the square with one side measuring 100 meters is called 1 hectare. Is there a way that one can grow more from the same land? All the lands in the village Palampur it is cultivated and no land is left idle. During the rainy season, Kharif farmers they grow jowar and bajra, and these plants they are used as cattle feed, and it is followed by the cultivation of potato between October and December. And in winter season, rabi fields are sown like wheat. And a part of the land area it is devoted to sugarcane, and which is harvested once every year. Sugarcane in its raw form or as jaggery it is sold to traders. So the main reason why the farmers can grow all the 3 different crop in a year is that this village it got electricity earlier, and its major impact was to transform the system of irrigation so that the people used tube wells and agriculture was going very smooth. The first few tube wells it was installed by the government, and later on the farmers started setting up private tube wells. All the farmers in Palampur they grow at least 2 main crops. Many are growing potato as a third crop in the past 15 or 20 years. So till now we have discussed one way of increasing production from the same land by multiple cropping process. And the other way is to use modern farming methods for a higher yield. This yield it is measured as the crop produced on a given piece of land during a single season. Traditional seeds needed less irrigation. Farmers they used cow dung and other natural manure as fertilizers, and all this were readily available with farmers, and they did not go out to purchase all these manures and fertilizers. The Green Revolution started around 1960s. It introduced Indian farmer to cultivation of wheat and rice using high yield variety of seeds. Compared to traditional seeds, the HYV seeds, which is known as high yielding varieties. This seed, it promised to produce much greater amounts of grains on a single plant, and the result, the same piece of land would now produce a far larger quantities of food grains. That is, you have 1 hectare of land. If 1 hectare of land gives 1300 kgs of wheat when traditional varieties are used, by using HYV seeds, this land could produce 3200 kg per hectare. This was a large increase in the production of wheat, and the farmers too had a greater amount of surplus wheat to sell in the markets. So, will the land sustain? Land is a natural resource and it is necessary to be careful in its use. So, scientific reports, it says that the modern farming methods have overused the natural resource base. In many areas, Green Revolution, it is associated with loss of soil fertility, which is due to increase of use of chemical fertilizers, and also the continuous use of this groundwater tube well irrigation. It has led to the depletion in underground water table. Environmental resources like soil fertility and groundwater, it was built up over years, and once it is destroyed, it is very difficult to restore them. So this chemical fertilizers, it provide minerals that dissolve in water and they are immediately available to the plant. But this may be not retained in the soil for a long time. They may escape from the soil and they pollute the groundwater, rivers and lakes. So chemical fertilizers kill the bacteria and other microorganisms in the soil. This means sometime after their use, the soil will be less fertile than it was before. How is the land distributed between the farmers of Palampur? So I have said that there are 450 families in the village Palampur, and about 1/3 of the families, they are landless. That is, 150 families, they don't have land for cultivation. And out of the remaining families, that is 240 families, they have a small plots of the land which is less than 2 hectares in size. And cultivation of the such plots, it does not bring enough income to the farmer's family. So in the village there are 60 families of medium and large farmers who cultivate more than 2 hectares of land, and a few of the large farmers, they have a land that extends over 10 hectares. Who will provide the labor? So after land, labor is necessary. Farming, it requires hard work. Small farmers, along with their families, they cultivate their own fields and they provide the labor required for farming themselves. And medium and large farmers, they hire a farm laborers to work on their fields. These farm laborers, they come from a landless family or the families, those who are cultivating in a small plots of land. So unlike farmers, farm laborers, they do not have a right over the crops that is grown on the land. So they are just paid wages by the farmers and the work is being done. Wages can be in the form of cash or in kind. That is like, instead of cash, crops are being given. The capital needed in farming. So we have seen the modern farming method and it requires capital for purchasing the seeds, fertilizers and so on. Most of the small farmers, they have to borrow money to arrange for the capital, that is for the investment. These people borrow the money from the money lenders or from the large farmers or from the traders who supply various inputs for cultivation. The rate of interest on such loans, it is very high. So in contrast to small farmers, the medium and large farmers, they have their own savings from farming. So therefore they are able to arrange the capital they need. Sale of surplus farm products. So let us imagine that the farmers have produced the wheat and harvested and the production is complete. They retain a part of wheat for family's consumption and they sell the remaining surplus wheat. Small farmers, they have a little surplus because their total production is small, and from this there is a very little share and it is kept for their own family needs itself. So it is a medium and large farmers who have a surplus amount of crops. The traders at the market, they buy the wheat and rice and they sell it to further shopkeepers in the towns and in the cities. Non-farm activities in Palampur. So we have learnt about the farming and the main production activity in Palampur. So now let's look at some of the non-farming activities in Palampur. That is some of the non-farming production activities in Palampur. Only 25% of the people in the villages, they are engaged in activities other than agriculture. And first comes dairy. This is the other common activity. So dairy is a common activity in many families of Palampur. People feed their cows and buffaloes and various kinds of grass such as jowar, bajra that grows during the rainy season. The milk is sold to the beside town, let's say Raiganj, and the nearby large villages and so on. And the traders, they have set up collection cum chilling centers from where the milk is transported to far away towns and cities. So this is how a daily milk is collected and distributed to towns and cities all over. An example of small scale manufacturing in Palampur. So at present, less than 50% they are engaged in manufacturing, and apart from factoring that takes place in big factories in the towns and cities, manufacturing in Palampur, it involves a very simple production methods, and they are carried out at the home or in the fields with the help of family labor. The shopkeepers of Palampur, so people involved in trade, so the traders of Palampur are shopkeepers, and they buy various goods from wholesale markets in the cities and sell them in the villages. So you can see small general stores in the villages selling a wide range of items like rice, wheat, sugar, tea, oil and so on. And few of the families whose houses are close to bus stand, they have used a part of the space to open small shops and they sell eatables and so on. Transport, a fast developing sector. So there are variety of vehicles on the road that connects Palampur to Raiganj like rickshawalas, tongawalas, jeep and the people driving the traditional bullock cart and so on. The ferry people and goods from one place to another, and in return they get paid for it. The number of people involved in transport has been grown during the past few years. So in the next session, let's discuss about the topic people as resource. Thank you.